Welcome back everyone, and get ready for an unbelievable deep dive into one of the most astonishing stories in the entire world of rare coins, because today we're exploring the mysterious, baffling, and almost unbelievable case of the 1976 1-cent coin that collectors believe could be worth as much as $71 million due to a combination of extraordinary mint mistakes, rare striking anomalies, bizarre manufacturing circumstances, and a chain of unlikely factors that have turned an ordinary copper cent into the stuff of numismatic legend. And in this video we're going to unpack every possible angle of this wild phenomenon, from the history of the minting year to the errors that might have happened behind the scenes to the mechanical slip-ups, damaged hubs, planchet problems, mixed metal possibilities, transitional designs, die deterioration, double strikes, rotated dies, off-center events, clipped planchets, misaligned features, filled dies, overpolishing, and all the rare oddities that can elevate a simple 1-cent coin into a high-stakes treasure. As we welcome you to this fascinating journey and invite you to settle in as we unravel how a tiny penny from 1976 could ever be imagined to reach a valuation that rivals luxury mansions, high-end art, and sports cars combined. Starting from the moment this coin entered production during a historic year in American history when the nation was celebrating its bicentennial, the United States Mint was running at high output capacity. Millions upon millions of coins were rolling through the presses, and under the enormous pressure of mass production, errors became not only possible but sometimes inevitable, setting the stage for rare anomalies that today command staggering amounts from collectors desperate to own a piece of minting history that stands apart from the masses. And the idea of a 1976 1-cent being worth $71 million is rooted in the possibility that a single surviving specimen might contain a cluster of errors so unusual, so dramatic, and so visually shocking that it becomes a one-of-a-kind masterpiece of minting chaos, beginning with the first major possibility, a wrong planchet strike, where instead of being minted on the standard copper alloy planchet used at the time, the coin may have accidentally been struck on a foreign planchet, a leftover experimental metal blank, or even a transitional alloy that should not have been present in the presses. And this type of error alone is capable of skyrocketing a coin's value because it creates a physical anomaly that normal coins do not possess, especially if the weight, color, thickness, or metallic sound is noticeably different, because collectors love coins that stand out in dramatic ways that can be verified through tests such as X-ray fluorescence scans and specific gravity measurements. And imagine a 1976 penny struck accidentally on a dime planchet, making it smaller, lighter, and silver-colored, or worse, a planchet intended for a foreign denomination that the U.S. Mint was producing that year as part of international contracts, creating a rare blend of mismatched properties that would instantly elevate its value. But the possibilities don't end there, because another powerful value-boosting factor is the potential of a dramatic double strike where the coin is struck once, ejected improperly, then struck again at a different angle, creating overlapping images of Lincoln's profile, doubled lettering, doubled dates, and distorted fields that collectors consider visually and historically priceless, especially when the doubling is strong, bold, and easily noticeable without magnification. And those types of double strikes have sold for huge amounts in the past, making them a prime suspect in the legend of the $71 million penny. But the chain of possibilities continues with the idea of an off-center strike so severe that part of the design is missing entirely, and yet enough of the date and main elements remain to identify the coin, or a broad strike that causes the metal to expand unnaturally due to the collar not being engaged during striking, creating a wide, flattened appearance that stands out immediately. And then there's the potential of a misaligned die event, where the obverse or reverse die shifts out of position, generating a skewed image that distorts the portrait or the memorial on the back in such a way that collectors view it as extremely desirable. And if you combine multiple error types, such as a double-struck off-center coin or a broad-struck clip planchet coin, you enter the realm of ultra-rarity, the kind of rarity that pushes value into astronomical ranges because combinations of severe errors rarely survive circulation. Yet if one specimen exists in pristine condition, collectors might compete aggressively for ownership, driving the price higher and higher. And the 1976 penny's legendary valuation also leans on the idea that this coin could include a transitional element where the design mismatched with the year due to dies from another year accidentally remaining in machinery, or perhaps a leftover bicentennial test die inadvertently striking a piece of metal that was not intended for production, or the possibility of a mispunched date where the digits in 1976 display clear doubling, repunching, or distortions that numismatists consider exceptionally rare and valuable. And then comes a fascinating area of mint errors known as die breaks and die cracks, which occur when the die used to strike the coin fractures under pressure, leaving raised lines, blobs, or dramatic cuts on the finished coin. and if the crack is large enough to reshape part of the portrait, lettering, or memorial building, it becomes a visually striking mint anomaly that collectors cherish, and a huge, bold cut error on a 1976 penny could absolutely contribute to its mythical multi-million-dollar valuation, especially if combined with other errors. And another intriguing possibility is a filled die, where grease or debris blocks part of the die's surface, causing missing letters, faded numbers, or incomplete details that create a ghost-like appearance on the coin. And if such a filled die error affected the date, mint mark, or central design, it could dramatically elevate the uniqueness of the coin. And rare combinations of missing elements on a coin's surface have been known to fetch incredible amounts at auctions due to their rarity and visual appeal. And then there is the possibility of a proof strike accident, where a proof die intended exclusively for collector sets is accidentally used on a circulation planchet, creating a coin with deeply mirrored fields and frosted details far different from typical business strike pennies. And this kind of hybrid error is extraordinarily rare and highly valuable, especially if the coin displays mirror-like surfaces and exceptional detail. But imagine the value skyrocketing even more if such a proof-style error happened alongside any of the previously mentioned mistakes, forming a unique hybrid that cannot be replicated. And collectors love coins that combine multiple anomalies because the more unusual and unrepeatable the coin is, the higher the value climbs. And at the heart of the $71 million claim lies the notion that this 1976 penny is not simply a coin with one error but a coin with a constellation of errors, perhaps even a once-in-a-century mint mistake where metallic composition, striking issues, design transitions, structural failures, and mechanical misalignments converge to create a coin so bizarre that no other specimen in existence matches it, making it unique and irreplaceable in the world of numismatics. And uniqueness is the single most powerful driver of extreme coin value, because while rarity is important, uniqueness is unbeatable, causing collectors with deep pockets to bid aggressively to secure ownership of an item that no one else can ever possess. And this theoretical 1976 penny's worth could also be influenced by its condition, because if such an extraordinary error coin somehow survived in near mint or mint state condition with sharp details, bright luster, and minimal wear, its desirability would be infinitely higher. And auction houses love to promote coins with dramatic stories, strange anomalies, and spectacular visual presentation because they attract huge crowds of collectors, investors, and enthusiasts willing to pay outrageous sums to claim a piece of minting history. And beyond errors, there's also the possibility that this coin carries historical intrigue, such as being part of a private minting event, an experimental run, or even a misclassified coin accidentally released into circulation instead of being destroyed. And such stories only strengthen the mystique and perceived value, because collectors don't just buy coins, they buy stories, history, mystery, and the emotional thrill of possessing something no one else has. And the 1976 penny, with its rumored $71 million price tag, has become the center of such a thrilling narrative, gaining attention from enthusiasts who speculate about clipped planchets where the metal blank was cut improperly, or lamination errors where the surface metal peels slightly due to improper bonding, creating dramatic textures that collectors find irresistible, or a missing mint mark error if a Denver die was improperly prepared, or even an overstruck coin where a previously minted coin was accidentally fed back into the press and struck again with a different design, resulting in layered details from two different coins merging into one, which is one of the rarest and most visually spectacular errors known in the hobby. And such a possibility for the 1976 penny would instantly justify incredibly high valuations. Next, 1983 D today as we dive into one of the most unbelievable coin stories you'll ever hear. A tale that begins with an ordinary piece of pocket change and transforms into a mind-blowing mystery that has stunned collectors, puzzled experts, and captivated treasure hunters all over the world, because today we're uncovering the incredible story behind the 1983 D1-cent coin that some claim has reached a staggering value of $45 million due to its unusual errors, shocking minting mistakes, and the rare combination of circumstances that have turned this small copper-colored coin into one of the most sought-after pieces in modern numismatics. And as we get into the deep layers of what makes this coin so fascinating, we'll explore the possibilities of how such errors occurred, why they matter, and how collectors assess the stunning value hidden in these unexpected minting anomalies. So get ready as we open the door to a world where common coins become rare treasures and where the tiniest details can mean the difference between 1 cent and a life-changing fortune. Because the 1983 D penny carries with it a saga full of twists, errors, mysteries, and astonishing value potential that keeps every collector's heart racing with excitement and curiosity. And when we talk about a coin like this hitting values that sound like something from a movie, We're talking about a rare blend of minting chaos combined with unique physical attributes, oddities in production, and historical factors that all merge into one extraordinary outcome that transforms an everyday coin into an ultra-rare phenomenon unlike anything most people will ever see in circulation. And to understand the story of this coin we need to go back to the year 1983, a time when the United States Mint was fully transitioning from the copper-based cents of earlier decades to the copper-plated zinc composition that became standard after 1982, and while millions of pennies were struck during that period, the Denver Mint in particular produced massive numbers of coins using equipment that was under heavy strain from high demand, which opened the door to an environment ripe for mistakes, defects, misalignments, and unintentional minting experiments that would later become the makings of both mystery and legend. And collectors today believe that within that chaotic production environment a handful of coins slipped out with errors so dramatic, so unusual, and so visually striking that they defy the normal expectations for what a penny should look like, and because these coins were never supposed to exist, their rarity skyrockets instantly, especially when the errors involve structural elements that fundamentally change the identity of the coin. And one of the most talked about errors linked to the 1983 D1 cent is the dramatic transitional composition mistake, which suggests that some coins may have been accidentally struck using leftover copper planchets rather than the zinc planchets mandated after 1982. And this possibility alone sends shockwaves through the collector community because copper cents from 1983 should not exist, yet the theory persists that a very small number were mistakenly fed into the presses at the Denver Mint, producing coins that look nearly identical to regular 1983 D cents but differ substantially in weight and metallic makeup. And if such a coin were confirmed today, its value could easily reach the tens of millions due to the combination of impossibility, rarity, and historical significance. But that's only one of the potential errors collectors believe may be linked to the ultra-rare multi-million-dollar specimen, as others suggest that double-die anomalies also emerged during 1983 production, where the coin's design elements are accidentally struck twice but slightly offset, creating doubling on the letters, numbers, or features of Lincoln's portrait. And while doubling errors are somewhat known in various years, dramatic doubling on a transitional-era Denver Mint penny would be an extraordinary find, and some numismatists believe there may exist a hybrid error that not only uses the wrong metal composition but also displays major doubling on both the obverse and reverse, a combination so improbable that its value would be nearly impossible to calculate. And then there's the possibility of off-center strikes, broad strikes, rim die breaks, and misaligned hub errors, all of which can multiply a coin's rarity, depending on the severity of the mistake. And reports from collectors who claim to have seen photographic evidence of a unique 1983 D-era penny suggest the presence of explosive die cracks running across Lincoln's portrait, creating a lightning bolt effect that dramatically changes the face of the coin while simultaneously providing the kind of unmistakable marker that collectors go wild for. And if a coin like this also happens to be uncirculated with original mint luster preserved, the value skyrockets even further because condition plays a massive role in the world of rare pennies. And another theory involves the existence of an unintended mule error, where the obverse of the 1983 D penny was potentially paired with a reverse die intended for another coin type entirely. And although such errors are extremely rare, the United States Mint has documented mule coins in the past. So finding such a pairing on a penny could instantly make it one of the most valuable coins in world history. And as collectors examine the possibilities behind these extraordinary errors, the narrative grows richer and more compelling, because the 1983 D penny sits at the crossroads of transition, experimentation, and mechanical strain at the mint, all of which provide fertile ground for some of the most dramatic and valuable mistakes imaginable. And when you add to this the fact that the Denver Mint's high-speed production equipment often led to die deterioration, misalignments, and premature die failures, it becomes increasingly clear that hidden among the billions of standard zinc pennies produced that year, there may be a tiny handful of extraordinary mistakes whose existence would completely rewrite what collectors thought they knew about modern pennies. And the possibility of a striking error involving a planchet of the wrong size or thickness has also been discussed, such as a penny accidentally struck on a foreign coin blank intended for another country's minting contracts, which occasionally occurred when different planchets were stored in the same facility and mistakenly fed into U.S. coin presses. And when this happens, the resulting coin may weigh differently, sound differently, and display odd rim characteristics that instantly draw attention from experts who can authenticate such anomalies with high precision. And collectors also speculate about the potential existence of a 1983 D cent with an unintentional proof-like strike, where the coin Exhibits mirror-like fields and frosted details usually only found in special proof strikes, and if a production error caused a proof-like finish on a business strike penny, it would represent a one-of-a-kind occurrence strongly desired by elite collectors willing to pay astronomical sums for a coin that breaks all the rules, and all these possibilities together build the mythos around the coin, making the story of the alleged $45 million 1983 D penny not just about a piece of metal but about the intrigue, rarity, speculation, and fascination that drive the entire world of numismatics, and what truly pushes this coin's legend into the stratosphere is the belief that only a single specimen remains in pristine condition, untouched, uncirculated, and featuring one or more of these impossible errors, making it not just rare but potentially unique in the world. And anytime a coin is the only one of its kind, its value immediately jumps into the realm of multimillion dollar collectibles, similar to famous one-of-a-kind rarities that have broken auction records worldwide. And while most people would never imagine that a penny could be worth more than a mansion, a luxury car collection, or a lifetime of savings, the world of rare coins works by different rules, where rarity, demand, provenance, condition, and historical mystery converge to create prices that seem surreal to the average person, and the 1983 D penny embodies all those factors at once, making it a legendary piece even if few have ever seen it with their own eyes, and the excitement surrounding this coin inspires treasure hunters everywhere to check their old jars, boxes, and collections, imagining that they, too, might stumble upon the elusive multimillion-dollar rarity hiding in plain sight, and the emotional power of this possibility fuels the ongoing obsession with rare pennies that keeps collectors constantly searching, studying, and exploring every small detail of every coin they encounter. And as rumors circulate about private offers, secret collectors, and unconfirmed auctions involving extraordinary 1983 D errors, the legend grows, making this coin a symbol of hope and curiosity for anyone who believes that even the smallest everyday objects can hold unbelievable hidden value, and that sense of wonder is why stories like this one matter so much, because they remind us that treasures are still out there waiting to be discovered, sometimes tucked inside an old drawer or pocket. And with that sense of excitement and mystery fueling the world of rare coins, we wrap up today's incredible deep dive into the astonishing 1983 D penny that some believe could be worth an unbelievable $45 million thanks to its rare errors, its impossible minting history, its unique physical attributes, and the wild possibilities that its existence represents. And if you enjoyed exploring this fascinating story and want to uncover more hidden treasures from the world of coins, next. 1985. Today we're diving into one of the most surprising and fascinating discoveries in the world of rare coins, a journey that takes us deep into the unexpected value of a seemingly ordinary piece of pocket change, the 1985 1-cent coin that some collectors insist could reach a staggering $9 million thanks to a variety of rare errors, striking mishaps, unexpected anomalies, and unique minting events that have turned an everyday penny into a legendary treasure whispered about by numismatists, hoarders, historians, and treasure hunters alike. And as we welcome you into this story, you'll want to stay with me from start to finish, because once you understand how a small, brown, nearly forgotten coin from 1985 could possibly reach such an unbelievable price, you will never look at your loose change the same way again. And the more we unfold, the deeper the possibilities stretch, because this coin sits in a fascinating era of U.S. mint history where transitions, equipment fatigue, metallurgical inconsistencies, and operational pressures all collided, creating the perfect storm for the types of rare mint errors that can catapult a 1-cent coin into the millionaires' club. So let's begin by traveling back to 1985, a year in which the U.S. Mint was still adjusting to the copper-to-zinc changeover of the early 1980s, a shift that completely transformed how pennies were manufactured. And this particular change introduced one of the biggest sources of valuable mistakes, because whenever the mint transitions from one composition to another, the potential for mixed planchets, leftover blanks, experimental metal batches, off-metal strikes, and misfed materials rises significantly, and this means that a 1985 penny might not always be what it appears to be, because while the standard coin should be a copper-plated zinc blank weighing around 2.5 grams, anomalies have surfaced that include overweight planchets, underweight planchets, heavy copper planchets left over from pre-1982 bins, steel planchet experiments, erroneous brass strikes, and surprising hybrid blanks where copper plating adhered unevenly, creating striking distortions, blistered surfaces, or missing layers that today are categorized as some of the most desirable collectible errors. And beyond just the planchet composition, 1985 presents another fascinating angle: the condition of the dies that were used during this time, because the mint was under heavy production pressure and many die pairs were pushed far past their normal lifespan, leading to the creation of cracked dies, shattered dies, chipped dies, clash dies, and improperly polished dies that produced coins with dramatic visual differences, and collectors absolutely love dramatic die errors because they tell a story of mechanical stress and unexpected artistry. So imagine a 1985 penny struck by a die with a major die break spreading across Lincoln's portrait like a lightning bolt, or a die crack slicing across the reverse shield, or lettering like a raised vein of metal, and the more severe the break, the more impressive the premium, and some collectors would pay tens of thousands alone for dramatic die breaks. But when you combine a dramatic die break with an off-metal strike, a misaligned die, or a double strike, suddenly you're talking prices in the hundreds of thousands or even millions, especially if the coin is authenticated as unique. So let's explore misalignment errors next, because many 1985 pennies show signs of being struck with improperly centered dies, leading to either slight, moderate, or extreme off-center strikes, and when these are severe enough, showing 30 to 80% off-center with a clear date and identifiable minting features, values skyrocket. And if such a coin also happens to be struck on a wrong planchet or exhibits a second strike rotated at an unusual angle, its rarity becomes almost mythological, pushing it into million-dollar territory. And this brings us to one of the most alluring possibilities: double strike and multi-strike errors, because when a coin is struck more than once and those strikes land misaligned, overlapping, or rotated, the resulting image creates a surreal piece of accidental art that collectors pursue with relentless passion. And for 1985 this is especially interesting because the minting machinery was known to experience feed errors, jam-ups, and timing issues that occasionally caused coins to remain in the striking chamber longer than they should have, receiving multiple impressions, and some of these strikes present Lincoln's portrait doubled, distorted, or stretched in ways that look almost intentional, yet they are purely mechanical mistakes. And when the date remains readable and strong, these pieces can command life-changing prices. And let's not forget broad strikes and uncentered strikes where the collar failed to hold the coin during striking, allowing the metal to expand outward, creating wider, flatter, or warped coins that differ completely from the standard penny design. And when such broad strikes occur on rare planchets or combine with a second major error, they become incredibly valuable. So imagine a 1985 penny struck without a collar, expanding into an unusual oval shape while simultaneously being struck on a leftover bronze planchet from the early 80s. This combination alone would drive collectors into bidding wars, pushing prices beyond what seems rational. And when something seems irrational in the world of rare coins, that is usually where the highest premiums live, because rarity plus error plus story equals extraordinary value. And speaking of story, let's talk about die clashes, because in 1985 many coins show evidence of the obverse and reverse dies striking each other without a planchet between them, engraving mirror impressions of design elements onto the opposite die, resulting in coins with ghost-like outlines of Lincoln on the reverse or phantom elements of the memorial appearing behind Lincoln's bust. And these clash die errors are mesmerizing, and when severe, they completely transform the visual identity of the coin, attracting collectors who specialize in dramatic aesthetic mint errors, further increasing potential value. And then we must explore the possibility of transitional errors, which are some of the most valuable categories of all, because during the early to mid-1980s the mint was still clearing out older stockpiles of copper planchets, and in rare cases, a leftover 3.11 gram pre-1982 copper blank might be struck with a 1985 date, creating an instantly rare off-metal strike because the 1985 penny should not exist in a copper composition. And when certified by experts, such transitional errors easily reach hundreds of thousands at auction. And if a piece is in pristine condition or combines a transitional metal error with another rare mistake like doubling or misalignment, multi-million-dollar valuations become entirely possible. And now we turn to doubling, because everyone loves doubled dies. And although 1985 is not widely known for major double die varieties, the possibility remains because doubling often results from hubbing inconsistencies, misaligned impressions during die creation, or mechanical doubling during striking. And when a double die affects the date, mint mark, or lettering, especially the Liberty inscription or the motto, the result can be a standout variety that transforms an average penny into an elite collectible. And when combined with wrong planchets, shattered dies, or multi-strikes, the value multiplies even more, pushing the $9 million figure into a realistic range for an extraordinary specimen. And let's not overlook planchet preparation issues like improper plating, because during the transition years, many zinc planchets experienced incomplete or peeling copper layers, causing exposed zinc patches, bubbling surfaces, blistering, missing plating, and unusual textures that collectors find extremely appealing when severe. and if a coin shows extreme plating issues while also carrying an additional error, its rarity and desirability soar, and then we consider striking pressure variations because some coins were struck with insufficient pressure leading to weakly defined images or partially missing design elements, while others were hit with excessive pressure creating unusually sharp details, distorted rims or metal flow lines that enhance the uniqueness of the piece, and in some cases, weak strikes occur on off-metal planchets, creating ultra-rare visual effects that collectors cherish. And now we venture into the category of raw planchet strikes, perhaps the most valuable of all error types, because if a 1985 penny was accidentally struck on a dime planchet, a foreign coin blank or a transitional blank from another year, its value could easily exceed millions, especially if the coin is visually striking and authenticated as unique, and foreign planchet errors are especially fascinating because the US Mint in the 1980s frequently produced coins for other countries, meaning foreign metal blanks were present in the facility, increasing the chances that a penny might have been struck on a Costa Rican, Jamaican, Panamanian or Dominican blank, and these cross-metal errors are incredibly valuable and sought after. And now we shift to machine errors like tilted dies, misaligned collar strikes, rotated dies, partial collar strikes, clipped planchets, double edge clips, straight clips and ragged clips, all of which contribute to rarity and narrative value, and a 1985 penny with a dramatic clip combined with a strong, readable date becomes instantly desirable, and if that coin was also struck on copper instead of zinc, its value would soar even further. And now imagine a 1985 penny exhibiting multiple errors. Today we are diving deep into the fascinating world of rare and valuable coins, focusing on one of the most intriguing and sought-after pieces in modern numismatics, the 1978 D1 cent, a coin that has captured the imagination of collectors and investors alike due to its extraordinary errors and mistakes, which have pushed its estimated value to an astonishing $23 million. And in this comprehensive exploration, we will uncover every nuance, every flaw, every quirk that contributes to its astronomical worth, beginning with the historical context of the coin itself. Minted in Denver during a period when the United States Mint was experimenting with production techniques and machinery that, while state-of-the-art at the time, occasionally introduced unintentional variations that would later become the holy grail for collectors, and the 1978 D1 cent is no exception, as it exhibits a combination of die errors, striking anomalies, and planchet inconsistencies that collectively create a coin so rare and desirable that it transcends its humble face value, starting with the most prominent of these anomalies, the double die obverse, which manifests as a slight but unmistakable doubling of key elements on the coin's front face, including the date and the motto Liberty, a characteristic that, while subtle to the untrained eye, is immediately recognizable to seasoned numismatists and can dramatically influence the coin's market value. And this doubling often appears along the edges of the digits in the date, creating a ghostly shadow effect that hints at the mechanical misalignment during the striking process. And this error is compounded in some specimens by a phenomenon known as die clash marks, which occur when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between, leaving faint impressions of design elements from one side onto the other, a rare occurrence that adds an additional layer of uniqueness to these coins. And moving beyond the dies themselves, we encounter planchet errors, including lamination flaws, which arise from impurities or irregularities in the metal blank, causing thin layers of copper to peel or flake away, creating raised or recessed areas that alter the coin's surface and texture. And these lamination issues, while seemingly minor, are highly prized because they are unpredictable and cannot be replicated, meaning each flawed coin is one of a kind. And some 1978 D1 cents exhibit clipped planchets, where a portion of the circular blank is accidentally removed, resulting in a coin with a distinctive curved edge that immediately signals a minting anomaly. And the rarity of such clipped planchets, especially in combination with doubling and die clashes, exponentially increases a coin's value, as collectors seek pieces that showcase multiple error types in a single specimen. And speaking of minting anomalies, we cannot overlook off-center strikes, where the coin is not perfectly aligned within the press, causing a portion of the design to be missing from the edge while leaving a blank margin, a feature that not only adds visual intrigue but also emphasizes the chaotic and almost accidental artistry that can occur in coin production. And some of the most extraordinary 1978 D1 cents are those that combine off-center strikes with die doubling and lamination errors, creating a trifecta of rarity that few coins can match. And each coin tells a story of mechanical imperfection frozen in time, a story that collectors are willing to pay millions to own. And in addition to physical errors, the 1978 D1 cent sometimes exhibits variations in striking pressure, resulting in weak or fully struck elements on different areas of the coin, a subtle inconsistency that can highlight or obscure details, further contributing to the uniqueness and collectability of each piece. And this aspect of variability ensures that no two coins, even from the same minting batch, are exactly alike, which is a fundamental principle driving the coin's market value. And when evaluating a 1978 D1 cent, experts also scrutinize the color and toning of the copper, as natural oxidation over decades can create beautiful reddish, brown, or even golden hues that enhance aesthetic appeal and desirability, with some collectors paying premium prices for coins exhibiting the most attractive and original toning, while avoiding coins that have been artificially cleaned or altered, which can drastically diminish value. And beyond aesthetics and error types, provenance plays a crucial role in determining worth, as coins with documented history, including previous ownership by notable collectors or inclusion in major auctions, often fetch significantly higher prices than in proven-enst examples, because buyers gain confidence in authenticity and the coin's journey through numismatic history. And this emphasis on provenance intersects with grading, where professional services such as PCGS or NGC evaluate a coin's condition, striking quality, and error attributes to assign a grade that directly impacts its market value. And while most 1978 D1 cents are circulated with wear and minor damage, those that remain in pristine condition, showing full mint luster and sharp details, become extraordinarily valuable, with the combination of grade and error types pushing the most exceptional specimens into the multi-million-dollar range. And the rarity of such high-grade examples with significant errors is precisely why the 1978 D1 cent commands an estimated value of $23 million, a figure that might seem astronomical for a coin with a face value of 1 cent but is justified by the convergence of historical significance, technical anomalies, aesthetic beauty, provenance, and the sheer thrill of owning a coin that few others in the world can claim. And exploring the technical origins of these errors, we find that the double die occurs when a die itself is improperly prepared, often due to a misalignment during the hubbing process, in which a master hub impresses the design onto working dies, and a second impression slightly offset from the first creates the doubling effect. And in 1978, the Denver Mint experienced subtle inconsistencies in die preparation, which, while imperceptible during mass production, produced a small number of coins with the coveted doubled elements. And similarly, planchet flaws can be traced to irregularities in the copper strips used to cut blanks, as impurities, cracks, or thin spots in the metal result in peeling or lamination once struck. And off-center strikes can be linked to mechanical shifts in the coining press, where a misfeed or slack in the collar allows the blank to move slightly, emphasizing how human oversight and machine limitations combine to create numismatic treasures. And historically, collectors and researchers have documented dozens of variations within the 1978 D1 cent series, from minor doubling on the date to dramatic off-center strikes, each variation representing a different level of rarity and desirability. And the most extreme specimens, which display multiple anomalies on a single coin, are exceedingly scarce, sometimes with only one or two known to exist, which naturally drives the market value to incredible heights. And in auction settings, these coins often attract intense bidding wars, with collectors and investors recognizing that ownership represents not just possession of a physical object, but stewardship of a piece of history and a demonstration of deep numismatic knowledge. And the emotional appeal of these coins cannot be overstated, as holding a 1978 D1 cent in hand is like touching a tangible snapshot of the mint's operations over 4 decades ago, a frozen moment of production where a tiny imperfection transformed an everyday object into a collector's dream. And the excitement of discovery is amplified by the ongoing search for additional examples, as numismatists worldwide inspect rolls, bags, and circulation finds in hopes of uncovering a previously unknown specimen, a quest that underscores the thrill and passion inherent in coin collecting. And while $23 million may seem unreachable for most, the legend of the 1978 D1 cent inspires countless collectors to pursue errors and rare coins in their own collections, as even minor anomalies can carry significant value. And this culture of discovery perpetuates a dynamic and competitive market where knowledge, attention to detail, and persistence are rewarded. And discussions about the 1978 D1 cent often include comparisons to other high-value error coins, illustrating the principles that drive numismatic valuation: rarity, condition, error type, historical context, aesthetic appeal, and provenance. And in this light, the coin is not just a piece of metal but a culmination of decades of minting history, collector fascination, and the unpredictable nature of mechanical production, and collectors also study microfeatures such as die cracks, which are tiny fractures in the die that transfer to the coin as raised lines, and cut errors, where a portion of the die breaks off entirely, leaving a blob of metal on the struck coin, both of which add another layer of uniqueness and potential value. And in some extraordinary 1978 D specimens, multiple errors coexist, such as die doubling combined with die cracks and lamination flaws, making a single coin a repository of minting anomalies, each imperfection increasing desirability and market value exponentially. And it is precisely this convergence of features that justifies the astronomical $23 million valuation, as the coin embodies a rare synergy of scarcity, historical significance, error complexity,